Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Board of Selectmen, the regular meeting for the Board of Selectmen for Tuesday, January 21st. It's 7:02 p.m. I'd like to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
So we'll start with well, obviously we have a presentation, but we do have opportunity for public comments. Is anybody making comments other than for the presentation or? Oh, okay. Correspondence,
Yes,
what do you have?
it's in your packet, right beneath the agenda.
This is the residential noise ordinance correspondence. I'm just, you guys can take this home with you, of course. I wanted to share just an email because, you know, it's very difficult with the folks who have issues with garbage trucks. It's kind of constant. And this was somebody who, you know, we've heard from a number of times. So I wanted to share it. It's from Mike Roberto on Karen Drive. You know, he's been having the garbage trucks arriving pretty early, 3 o'clock a.m., 3:30 a.m. Had one today or at this day for 2:37 in the morning, you know, waking people up. So it is something I want you guys to take a look at and just, you know, we do need to address it in a future meeting. So that is the correspondence. Anything else, Mary?
That's it for correspondence.
Okay. I make a motion that we approve the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from July 2nd, 2025.
January 2nd.
I apologize, January 22nd. I got July on the brain. Wish you were July.
Second.
Pretty straightforward. Is there any discussion on the minutes?
She wasn't here.
No, I wasn't.
Okay. See that? I'll try your minds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any abstention? Oh, you can't vote on that actually. So
Oh, yeah.
you're an abstention for
Abstention.
outstanding. Motion passes. I move that we approve the Board of Selectmen regular meeting minutes from January 7th, 2025.
Second.
Any discussion on those minutes? Okay, see none, all. Try your minds, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. I will, let's see if there's anything super important. I just want to grab a couple things on first, segment report, just quick. We have been approached by where I've had a meeting with the Historical Society. There's some discussion about, their building, the old town meeting hall, and, having the town take it over. So that is something that'll come up with a future meeting, but, you know, something I wanted to kind of throw out there for you guys to start to ponder. And then, down the line, we'll have a more formal discussion. P negotiation, I had a chance to meet with the new FOP rep last week. Seems like a really decent guy. We've got our demand to bargain for this summer. So we'll start putting that together here soon. And of course, I'll keep you posted. We've had some conversations recently regarding the possibility of a health district. I don't know, as you know, the folks over in Newtown are in a health district with Bridgewater and what's the other one? Small one up there. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But looking at it as a possibility, you know, if we could save money or you know, if it was a future opportunity. Everything I'm seeing so far says no. And we lose way too much control if we try to do a health district. That we're really better off and probably not going to save a lot of money if we do it. So I just thought I'd kind of throw that out. If you have any questions at some point, you know, let me know, but I don't see it something I'm really going to pursue at this time. Today, both boilers had problems at the middle school. I think it got down to 60 degrees in there, but they did get everything cleared up. One was, I guess, a faulty control. And, you know, that's done. And the leak that we looked at Bethel High School during our walkthrough is finally fixed. So I kind of want to let everybody know that because that was something that really annoyed me. I want to make sure you guys know about. So that is the extent of my report for right now. Any questions? Okay. I would find this out right, so I can say this correctly. Hold on one second. we're gonna make a motion to add, here it goes. I move that we add.
You're not sure.
Got the volume off? If you mute yourself, it should help.
Is it already? Oh.
We moved it? Good, perfect. No more feedback. I make a motion that we add at the beginning of new business, consideration of an agreement to settle the lawsuit, Snowfield LLC versus heirs and or assigned creditors of the estate of Emil Gorella et al.
Second.
Okay, and we'll discuss that when we put up any problems on your end. I'll try your minds on, favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nothing opposed, motion carries. So first item,
Okay, so I have some handouts.
we'll make this quick, so.
I will explain to you what's going on. This is a lawsuit brought by Selectmen LLC to buy a title to a parcel adjacent to Maple Road. So this is the procedure that a party needs to go through essentially if they can't really determine legal title for whatever reason. Sometimes little pieces are left off of maps or whatever, and you're left with little parcels that really you don't actually have legal title to. So they started this action. And they named the town of Bethel because their survey showed that a catch basin owned by the town of Bethel is on the parcel that they're seeking to establish title to. Also, we established through a site visit and looking at maps of public works that there's a drainage pipe from the catch basin going into parcel A. So that the interests that the town has and wants to protect are this catch basin and the pipe. Otherwise, there's no interest in this parcel. The street itself, Maple Road, was conveyed by deed and accepted by the Board of Selectmen some time ago. The only issue is, and of course, that street has been there. The only issue was when they went to survey this parcel A for purposes of a lawsuit, they realized the catch basin was there. So what we propose to do is to, I've been working with Attorney Ballard, who represents Snowfield, and his client Chris Steiner is here today. So what we propose to do is to, and I've shown you the map. You can see parcel A, and that tiny little sliver is A1. That's really it. That teeny little piece with the catch basin on it, and then the easement for the drainage. So you have two documents in addition to the map. You have the proposed quitclaim deed, and you have the easement agreement. So what we're proposing to do is have the quitclaim deed and the easement agreement executed and delivered in escrow, plus the hold in escrow. And that really, that satisfies our concerns about protecting the interests of the town in and to this parcel A. Those documents will be held in escrow until the plaintiff concludes their lawsuit and they get a judgment of where title, they would have legal title to the property. Then we would release those documents from escrow and we would record them so that we would have the legal title to that where the catch basin is, that little parcel A1, and the rights to maintain our drainage with the easement onto parcel A. This, the easement and the little sliver being proclaimed to the town are pending with P&Z. They're going to be looking at that at the next meeting. That's been referred to them, and that tells me it will be on the next meeting agenda. I believe that's the 28th of this month. So the settlement would have to be subject, a legal approval tonight, but a positive report from P&Z.
Any questions from the board? It's,
Is there an owner of the property right now?
No, well, that's what they're trying to determine. So they go through this process and they have to name all the heirs of, Mr. Gorella. Maybe you want to talk a little bit about the process, John?
Sure, thank you. I'd be happy to. Mr. Selectmen, the situation is that Maple Row was deeded to the town back in 1954 from Emerald Gorella, who was the original developer of that whole area. Unfortunately, I think he probably had plans to deed the section listed on your maps as parcel A to develop it as a road and to deed it to the town, but he never got around to it. So it sat there fallow essentially for the last more than 70 years. The town has been utilizing and maintaining Maple Row all that time, including a portion of it that's actually over onto parcel A, only approximately 250 square feet where the catch basin is. The estate of Emerald Gorella is so old that actually all the named heirs in the estate, the beneficiaries of the estate, are themselves deceased and can no longer be found. So we brought a quiet title action against the unknown heirs, and we notified them by virtue of publication, first on the judicial website pursuant to statute, and then as an additional caution, we ran 2 weeks worth of legal notices in the local newspaper to notify anybody who may have a claim to this parcel A, which is technically, again, still in the essentially defunct estate of the original developer. Snowfield owns all of the parcels essentially around parcel A, and because so many of them are landlocked, quieting title to parcel A is crucial before we can even decide what value those parcels could potentially play. So we're simply asking to the court to quiet title. And before we do that, we want to ensure that, of course, we've acted in lockstep all along the way, including before we actually filed this lawsuit. But we want to ensure that we have the town's, approval and authority before doing anything further. So the town would, after we receive judgment, we can't give what we don't have, but after title goes into us by virtue of the court order, Attorney O'Brien would have an executed copy of this deed to the portion that the catch basin and a little part of the asphalt roadway is on, as well as an easement permitting the town access for purposes of stormwater runoff onto the remainder of the parcel. So it's a long time coming. It's been of no use to anybody for 70 years, and we're hoping to make something soon enough.
I get to fix it after all that.
Right.
And I'd like to join in too, is that I think the Chris Steinery, member in Snowfield, we thought we owned it all along, because we owned the paper road that goes through middle and going up. That's where we are. And then, after our surveyors are surveying and cleaning up a lot of different stuff within the park and everything, you can't find anything. So that's where that's kind of how we found out about it. And we said, look, we gotta clean this up for because there's no access or anything of that.
So just again,
It's okay. It's very straightforward. Okay, right? We're good, right? We've been working on this actually for a number of months now. It's very straightforward.
It's, just the recommendation then is, at this point in the lawsuit, either the town of Bethel, if we had some defenses, if we didn't, hadn't worked this out and we felt that there was some interest that we needed to protect, then we would pursue the lawsuit. But when we've identified what our interests are and we've adequately protected them, then it just makes sense. It's in the interest of the town to do what we're doing and then just to not pursue the lawsuit any further. So that is the rest of my recommendation. Any questions?
Okay, so that, I would accept a motion to accept the settlement in the case of Snowfield LLC versus heirs and or creditors of the estate of Emil Gorilla et al. And the town of Bethel, docket number CV 24-605-1605-S as presented, subject, however, to an 824 referral report from P and Z without objection. Do I have a second, or do I have a motion? Do I have a second? Second. Okay, Monica, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Further, I would accept a motion to authorize Daniel E. Carter, first selectman, to execute any documents reasonably necessary to effect the intent of the previous motion.
So moved.
Okay, any further discussion? With that, I'll try our minds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, Melanie, thank you. And guys, thank you for your patience. I know that was a long time coming.
We appreciate all your help.
Yeah.
You guys don't want to stay and watch the rest of the meeting?
Gonna be a good one.
Trouble. I didn't know I was supposed to show up to this meeting. I'm already in trouble at home.
If I'm not home in time to give my kids a bath, I shudder to think what I'll show up to.
We appreciate you.
You guys ready to go back for me?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate that. So next up, we have a presentation this evening by the Commission on Aging regarding the property tax relief for senior citizens living in Bethel. Thank you very much to the commission. I see the chairman or chairwoman is back there as well. Didn't know. Oh, Diane's the first, oh, you're the chair. I apologize. I thought Judy was still the chair. So congratulations. Thank you, Madam Chairman. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Okay to go?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Okay. We've been working on this proposal for a senior property tax benefit or abatement for the town of Bethel. The Commission on Aging, I'm the chair, and Pat Smithwick is the vice chair. Mary O'Leary is here, secretary, Judy Novacek, treasurer, and Jean Quinn as a member at large. Okay, next. So the purpose of our proposal is to provide a set dollar amount to be deducted from property tax annually. And our target audience is the long-term Bethel senior residents, often on a fixed income with no other tax relief, and to provide an incentive to keep seniors in Bethel. Okay, we can go. Now, what we think the program requirements should be, we came up with age 70 or older. The residence is legally only owner occupied. And that also means down the bottom there that the life use residency does not qualify. And they should reside in Bethel for 10 years or more. No income requirement. An annual application would be required. And the applicant also would not receive any other state or town property tax benefit. Now, we took a look at the neighboring towns to see what they're doing. And their parameters or their requirements, they usually went with age 65 with 3 to 5 years owned property in town. And they all have an application yearly. And these amounts are from 2024 that were that they credited. In Reading, they gave $2,800 to each household, senior household, with no income requirement. Newtown, it was a sliding scale, 1,000 to 2,000, and it was based on income and assets actually. Brookfield is 2,700. But they were also with an income requirement and a limit on the assessed value of their house, of the house that the person was applying. Ridgefield is, they've had $1,048 with no income requirement, like Reading. And that's been the amount for a while now, but actually, in the Denver News Times recently, beginning of December, there was an article about how their town is looking to do something for the seniors there. And the reason was to keep them in the town. That, you know, they just can't afford it anymore. So they're working on something there. And Ridgefield, I think they're working to increase that amount that they give. But that's just to get an idea of what the other towns around us are doing. And then we have statistics, just so you know, we can take a look. This is from 2024. Well, actually, I did it in the summer. Current population, 20,405, which could be more now. The number of households, 7,390. Owner occupied, 4,877. 70 years and over, 2,500. And the total, the amount that the best we could do to get close to a number of how many people we're talking about, of owner occupied, was 1,200. Because of the age over 70, then, you know, and not necessarily, there's a husband and wife, so they're both counted, and some of them might be receiving tax relief, so, yeah, that's our best guess there. It wouldn't be more than that, probably. But unless we actually did it and found out who wanted to take the time to apply and what have you, and had all the qualifications, we won't know exactly. Okay, the other tax relief programs in Bethel and the state. So the Bethel seniors currently receive, some of them currently receive either a $1 reduction in their property tax or a reduction in the assessed value of their home. Now, I got this from John Solver, and we don't have to go through every one, but you can see, you know, Bethel, it's all based on low income. And the income, unless it changes, is now for a married couple, 53,400, and single is 43,800. So when you add it up, it doesn't capture that many seniors here, you know. So we're trying to address other seniors too. Okay. So we did discuss alternate remedies. So, but we didn't think either it wouldn't fly or it would just was logical. So some places you'll freeze the property tax amount for the senior, so it never changes. Deduct an amount or percentage from the assessed value of the house. That's another thing. Age 65 and 5 years. Now, we thought that at 65, people might still be working. And we're also trying to save the town money. We don't, you know, we're trying to keep things contained. So, and also another alternate would income limit and an asset limit to the program, but that would be kind of, I think, hard to administer. You have to have a full-time person, you have to get tax returns, documentation, what all their assets are. And so that gets complicated, you know, like Reading and Ridgefield, you know, have it nicely easy and straightforward. Then in New York, they actually do a pay-only town, not the education portion of the bill. But we didn't think that that would probably work here. That would be a lot. So, but we would go for it if you want. So, our proposal, final slide. We propose that the town of Bethel fund an additional tax relief program. We already saw the programs in the other slide that for low income. So this would be an additional separate program for property owners 70 and above who have resided in Bethel for 10 or more years. Annual application required to be completed within a specified time period. Usually it's February 1st to May 15th. Benefit not applicable if the homeowner receives property tax relief from another source or state. Amount deducted from tax bill and clearly marked as such so that they know the town cares and they're, you know, that they're aware they're being given something. Set a dollar amount and for the benefit, and the dollar amount increases annually with the cost of living. So these cost examples are, you know, if you gave it $1,000 to each person, $1,500 or $2,000. So that's it.
One quick question. So would, if you decided to downsize and stay in town, would that count? Meaning you don't have to stay in your primary residence. Like if you wanted to get a smaller residence in town, then you could still get the tax credit.
Oh, sure, but you'd have to be 10 years there,
10 years in Bethel,
in
10
Bethel.
years owning Bethel
Right,
property.
of course, yes.
But I'm
you
just
could
saying that's
move
not necessarily
from a house
right.
to a condo.
To a condo
and you're
or,
still in Bethel, of
Right.
course, yes.
okay.
Yeah, there'd be a lot of, you know, little things that you'd have to make sure.
Right.
But everybody has a different circumstance.
The other thing is, so this is, I mean, this is a straight credit,
Yes,
you know, for folks who have a much smaller home, you know, I would say value wise, would it make sense to do or would you be open to doing a percentage of the value, like a sliding scale? Because if somebody owns a condo and they gets $1,200, or excuse me, $1,000 to stay,
Oh, because their property
But then you
tax
have
bill is not. as
not very
large as
much
Somebody else.
sometimes, I mean, they're certainly above them.
That's a thought, yeah.
It's just, yeah.
Very.
Yeah, just a little background, which is probably where we
Mhm.
should have started. This has been a concern of the commission for quite a while. Most of us have been serving quite a while on the commission. We came to you last April, with our concerns. We've had a lot of people, voice to us, they're concerned that they can't afford to stay in Bethel. They don't feel that, that the present budget that they get no services from the half its education and so on and so forth. So as a committee, we thought that it would be a good idea to study it. And this is just the facts that we've come up with. We went with the age 70 rather than 65 because we said that would cut down the cost for the town. And most people might still be working at 65. We wanted the premise that people stayed in their home. So you couldn't rent your house and get the tax credit, like if you're not there. We tried to figure all the scenarios that might influence Bethel people. We're bringing it to you folks tonight because we know that you're the important guys. However, we know it needs to go to the Board of Finance. So we would need your support before we could even go any further. We don't really know how the three of you feel about it, but it's a real need in this town. It's important to keep seniors in town.
Mhm. I would agree. It's definitely important to find a way to keep seniors. We know, I mean, obviously seniors add a lot to the community. That's one piece. And then there's a very financial issue, right? I don't know the stats, but for every home that a senior moves out of, how many homes go to a family with two kids. And now, we're looking in the neighborhood of $20,000 to the school budget each, well, it's actually less than that. It's more like 17 right now. But then, the normal costs of police and fire and all that are there, right? So yeah, there's a value. There's a monetary part of this too. I think we'd have, from our perspective, we'd have to crunch the numbers and balance it a little bit. As you know, a $1.2 million hit is
Not gonna happen.
pretty significant. Question is, could they get through over time? I mean, I have to see kind of how the other ones do it. I would say one of my questions would have been on the other ones. These are all credits because like Newtown, these aren't, where they take $1,000 or $1,500 off the assessment and then do the tax. These are actually credits back.
It's cash.
Cash. Okay.
Did you guys do anything to break down like the income level of is 10% income over this amount? The majority's income is this amount. Is there any way to determine incomes or not really?
To be perfectly honest, it was very difficult to get any information between. It's very hard to get these figures. They're not really available as much as you think they would be. We thought we could just go to the tax assessor to get everything we needed, and it's really not there.
Well, I guess my thought would be, and again, I agree with Dan. Obviously, we want to keep our seniors in town and, we want to care for our seniors. But if you take someone like me who has a pension from another job, right? And then I start collecting Social Security, am I really the candidate for that tax rebate if I really, can afford my taxes? Is that fair, to people who might not be able to afford their taxes? So I think, yes, Ms. Novacek.
We gave a little bit of thought to that, and that's why we are suggesting an application process, and we have to fill it out every year and at a certain time frame. So maybe you would feel that you didn't want to be bothered.
But they don't want to be bothered. It's just what's,
No, but I'm saying
what's
it wouldn't
fair,
go to,
what's fair is fair.
but it
Right.
wouldn't go to everybody automatically.
Right.
You would have to apply for it.
Yeah.
You kind of understand.
What's
what I'm
yeah,
thinking.
that's
You
the big dilemma.
That's the
because-
dilemma, what, yes, Ms. Novacek.
First of all, we need to give Diane all the credit because she has been the one that's been doing a lot of this research, and like Mary just said, it's difficult to come up with these numbers. I have a feeling that even though you would qualify, you would not apply But at least the information is out there so that the seniors who do live in town would say, oh, there's a program. And then when you see that there's a program for income limited, even though they might not be applying for it now, they might say, well, why am I not doing this? Because John Cyrus can only do so much. He can come in and, or, you know, people come in, but he doesn't go out and knock on doors and say, how much money do you make and do you qualify for this?
Right.
I might be wrong, but I would think that, a lot of people are proud. They don't want to accept any town, assistance. They certainly don't want to have liens put on their property. You know that from all these grants that come around. And you hear all of the time about people who are living in Bethel that are getting no services. Well, that's not true. You know, we have fire protection, we have police protection, we have most of our roads are sometimes done. But people that are living and owning in these subdivisions now that have private roads, they don't get any road, they don't get trash, they don't get any of the rest of this stuff. So it is a concern. And I think that even discussing it and having some publicity about it is, the perception is probably better than actually doing something, at least today, because it's going to take a while to get this, to get everybody on board and figure out a dollar amount that's worthwhile. For some people, $500 might mean a lot. Other people, you know, they might not care. Hey, we educated our kids, now it's time to educate somebody else. So we would hope that you would at least take it under serious consideration.
In the meantime, every day we lose seniors. They can't afford to stay in their homes. They can't afford the rents. And we're losing them. And then you're going to have fire with children moving in, because that's what's going to happen. They're going to replace them. You're going to have to pay for more services all through the community. So it's a win-win to help some of the seniors.
And I'd just like to say, what Brian had mentioned about an income requirement, you know, some of the other towns did have an income requirement. And, you know, you would hope if someone could afford to stay in their homes, would not apply to that. But if you don't have a mechanism there in place, they might apply for it anyway. So that would be one thing. And the other thing I would like to see is not a credit going on your assessment, because if you got a $2,000 assessment reduction on your property, it amounts to $60 or whatever the mill rate is. So
I take it you get the veteran exemption?
well, I do, yeah. So
Me too.
I get $32 off my taxes.
I think that's why we decided basically to go with the bottom line off the tax. Because if it's written on the tax that you get, say you've gotten $500 from the town as a tax, but a rebate, I guess you might call it, it would be visible. It's there so that people could actually see, hey, you know, I got $500.
Yeah.
It's not anything that's tangible that they have to, you know, that they save up for, but at least it's something visible. And like I said, sometimes the perception is better than the actual action. So,
And I'll agree with Pat Smithwick. I mean, the seniors sell their houses, you know, that there's two people living in a 3 or 4 bedroom house, and they sell it to a family. Now we got 3 or 4 kids, you know, back into the school system. So, you know, it might be a win-win situation.
But
Also, just one other point, and we thought a lot about that. We put that clause in there that you had to have been here for 10 years, because if people sell their house over in Westchester and make a killing, come to Bethel, then they don't deserve a tax credit. But we're talking about the people who have been Bethel people their whole life, and they want to stay here. But those are the people that we're trying to encompass.
No, I mean, I think everyone on the board will be committed to doing something to help. It's just, you know, obviously we need to speak to Brad Hearing to discuss, you know, financing it. Where does the money come from? What is the effect on the overall budget? Is it something that you phase in, kind of like, you know, sometimes when we do a new hire, you do 50% this year, you do 50% the next year, but I mean, I would fully support, you know, helping our seniors out. Obviously, you know, that's, you know, an important task. It's just figuring out what's the best way to do it and, you know, how do you get it done without affecting other services in the town.
True.
So I think, you know, Brad hearing some of that definitely needs to be brought into the discussion. The
Yeah.
town
Brad has
control.
been working with us.
Yep.
He went over our figures and gave us lots of suggestions. He's been.
Yeah.
I facetiously said one day, and this was facetious, that we should take it out of the education budget. Maybe half of it could come, or a quarter of it could come out of the budget, out of the education budget, because it's saving them. For every $500, if you're saving 17,000 that you just said, I think for education,
Mhm.
if you have one child and that's 34 and it goes up and up and up.
Well,
Would
it's-
be a wise investment.
Awesome. No, so there are, listen, we have a long way to go to address that part of it. And I'll put up one thing that is a concern about that idea, just because I am open, but I also would be very careful that, you know, number one, if you're a senior and living in Bethel, you still benefit from your property values because of Bethel and Bethel schools. And the other part of this, I don't want to create a rift. I don't want somebody now in the school world, the parents like somehow not liking seniors or they're getting some sort of break. And that if we have to do things that are fair and promote community unity, is where I'm going with it. But that is something on the table. Go ahead.
The seniors have sat for years.
Yeah.
Watching the town get all the benefits, and I'm all for education. Seriously, but Bethel needs to come out from under the rock.
What do you mean the rock? Can you
We're
elaborate?
just always behind the 8 ball. We're always the last to do something. Why do we have to watch every other town around us come out in the open and
Yeah.
do things for their seniors? Again,
Yeah.
you know, the school system seems to get all the attention, 85% of the budget.
Yeah.
Isn't it time we do something to keep some of the seniors?
Well, I appreciate that and I agree. Just like my colleague here, you know, the selectman said, I think we have an appetite to do
And
something.
we thank you for the consideration.
Totally do. And I understand your frustration. You know, it's very difficult because we are legally obligated to teach students, legally obligated.
Seriously,
And many of those things that come down to us are mandates. And some of the more painful mandates are what drives up the education budget. And I'll put something out there. I know very well that Bethel has very, very good schools and pays a lot less than other folks. So we're kind of in it together and it stinks. But the need to like do something for seniors is there. And I think that, you know, the question is kind of how do we navigate it? How much is it going to be? You know, you brought up some great points about whether this is going to be geared towards those who are financially in need. But then if I'm looking at keeping seniors in town, well, I kind of want to keep any senior in town, right? So maybe the financial need isn't just the part of it. Maybe we pay, you know, there's a little bit less, like maybe $700 or $500, but it's a wider net. Because, you know, to your point, we want to keep seniors involved in the community, that not just another, you know, program for those who have trouble making it. Those should be covered by our other programs to some degree. We would hope.
The seniors in town
Yeah.
are really, excuse me, the volunteers that keep a lot of like in school.
Yeah.
School is one. The town, the voting situation, I
Mhm.
look at the people that are volunteering at voting.
Yeah.
Which this year was quite a number. They're almost all senior citizens and they look forward to that.
Mhm.
Mostly because, not that they need the money, but it's a good thing to just say, oh, you know what, I made $50 or whatever it was today. It's really a matter of perception.
Was there ever, I mean, Ms. Smith brought up this notion that it was people who are not affording Bethel leaving. Was there any study talking about like who leaves Bethel? I mean, is it somebody who just hates spending a lot of money in Connecticut and still just decides to go to Florida? Or is it really the folks who've been here for a long time and can't make ends meet? Is there any kind of study on the income range of people who've left Bethel? I mean, that could be something we can look at.
How would we get that?
Some sort of survey probably. I could look around and kind of help figure it out if it exists. I don't know if we could get it. That's why I asked if it was something you guys explored. Because that would help us decide whether or not we should be going for the low income senior and keeping them, or if we should go in for any senior.
Well,
That's-
in
We already
reality,
have the
we are
low
already
income
doing that.
program.
We have low income programs, but the other thing is, and by the way, those we can tweak as well.
Yeah.
You know, but again, this is the question. At first we say we would go for the low income program to keep them here. Because even if they're having trouble making it, is this an additional benefit that we need to keep them? Or do we just give it to every senior who's over 70? And it is a big number, a very big number. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I may be shooting myself in the foot.
Don't do that.
I moved over here 30 years ago from
Yeah.
Westchester County. My taxes when I left there in a 1,200 square foot ranch was $11,000. When I moved over here, and I'm going to tell you right now, Bethel is still a bargain. But the people that are in need have been here 30, 40 years and they've seen their taxes. So to them, this is an exorbitant amount of money.
Sure. Does it go up? I understand.
So, yeah.
Okay, of
So can I just ask a quick question?
course.
So we're saying 180 households out of the 1,200 already get state property homeowners program.
Senior, yeah, so 60, I think
Two,
there's
213 get the Bethel homeowners program, correct?
right.
And that's what's the tax amount on that? Do you remember it? What does that equal? Do you guys know what that equals in terms of dollar amount? What do they get for a dollar? Is it,
Don Sauber just said it was a lot, you know.
Yeah, they're substantial.
It's substantial. It's not just 500, it's a
Okay.
couple of thousand.
you have 46, so out of, if you add up all those homes,
But you want to add up all the Bethel, right? Not the state too.
well, you said if they get state property
Right.
homeowners, they wouldn't be
Well, I'm
entitled
thinking
to.
they get both. Would they get both state and Bethel?
They can't get both.
Well, I mean,
We're
according,
recommending that they only get one.
they only get one
They
is
get
what
one,
your
yeah.
recommendation
Yeah.
is.
Right.
So out of this 213, some of those could be getting state assistance right now, is
Right.
what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, we're looking at potentially you could add 1,000 people. That's not, because the
Right.
vets federal real estate tax relief, I mean, Richie's saying he gets $32. I wouldn't apply for
Oh,
it anymore, is what I'm assuming.
But it's,
Right.
it's a nice thing. It's out
Yeah.
of principle.
Yeah.
Now, it's worth saying the disabled veterans get 100%.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't remember how many we have, but it's basically $90,000 hit to our budget.
I just think
Brandon.
that the thing is I don't think anyone's saying it's not something we should do. It's just trying to figure out how to implement it. I mean, I'll be honest with you, $1.2 million hit in one budget year probably isn't possible. I mean, it's just, let's be realistic in terms of, that would equate to what, $500,000 right there.
And
In terms of
considering-
mill rate, 1 mil, it would be $500,000. But again, I think if, we work together and, we figure out a way, we can phase it in and, start providing some relief. I mean, I would most certainly have an appetite for that. Cause again, we do want to take care of our seniors. We care about our seniors, a lot of seniors here educated our kids, we're involved in town. So of course we want to see our seniors stay because, it's important for the younger generation to be around seniors. Don Taylor will probably slap me, but there was nothing more than I loved was sitting with Don Taylor, at O'Neill's and hearing stories about Old Bethel and him telling me lots of cool things. And not that I'm a junior, but sometimes my son would sit with us and it was just fun. So I think there's an appetite on the board. It's just trying to figure out the proper way to do it. So we don't put the town in a financial hardship right off the bat. Because, Dan's right in the sense, we don't want to cut the school budget. We don't want to cut the town budget. We want to provide the necessary services to keep our real estate's values up, to keep our community safe. And, so, I mean, I just think it's something that we need to continue the conversation, especially when Brad Herring's around, who I'm sure would have a lot of, useful ideas for us. But, I appreciate the hard work that you guys put into it. And I assure you, it has not fallen on deaf ears. I don't want you, you're not getting lip service from me, I'm telling you.
So next steps.
So how can we help you?
Yeah, so next steps. Well, first off, I think, I'll sit with Brad, kind of start going through this. I'll probably come back to you with some ideas at your commission meeting. You know, see what floats, what doesn't, see what kind of budget we can come up with over probably a period of time. I think we'd have to design something that he mentioned phasing in over time. There's no way we can take a $1 million hit to the budget in a year. Just can't do it. Especially this year, to be honest. I mean, when they revalued the car tax, that created a pretty substantial hole in what we have now. So that's going to be kind of shifting around to the property taxes as well, but that's about an $800,000 hole. And the veterans tax, another 90,000. So if you look at where we are on our grand list at the end of the day, we probably we didn't grow. Our grand list didn't grow this year. So that's always hard too, because that sometimes offsets our growth as we go along, or things like this that we want to do. So, but you know, I'm not gloom and doom either. I think that, again, at some point we can do something to create this. You know, we could be creative.
And do you think anything's possible to get something for this future budget? And
I would love to have something in this budget. Would love to. It's a tough budget, but we can look at it. And listen, at the end of the day too, if we propose it, if we come up with something that's reasonable and the Board of Finance doesn't sign off this year, it doesn't mean that they won't next year, or maybe at a reduced amount. I do think that something has to come in over a little bit at a time. Yeah. Just it's something.
Whatever we do though has to be thought out and thoughtful. I don't
Yeah.
want to just rush
Yeah.
and not do something that makes sense. And I'll be honest, I'm very upfront. I'm a little bit hesitant without an income level. I mean, if you have someone who's collecting $100,000 annuity, it kind of defeats the spirit of why we're doing this. And I know it's nice to say that
Yeah.
most people won't do it, but the cynical police officer may will come out and say, well, there's a lot of people who don't need it. And that takes away from someone who does need
Well,
it.
but here's,
You know, and that's
Always.
just where I'm thinking is that,
Yeah.
you know, we would have to figure out some, and again, not to embarrass people. Like, I don't want people to come to us and say, oh, I make under 70,000. I don't want to have to tell you that. But
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that would be very important. Anything we do, that we protect the spirit of why we're doing it.
but see that and right there, that's, I'm not debating with, this is what I struggle with. Because I see Brian's point. At the same time, I say to myself, what is the spirit? If the spirit is keeping people here, then if we make it blanket and everybody gets a certain amount, would that keep people here at all levels? Or if we just look at folks who have more needs, then is that the spirit of what we're trying to do? Is the spirit to help people who have a hard time affording to be here? Or is the spirit to do something to keep people here? Like, would it incentivize somebody who's thinking about moving to Florida? I don't know. And they get a little,
If you have six-figure income in
you do what you want.
retirement, I don't think the $1,000 is going to keep you here or not.
But they may be staying there.
But what I'm saying is, if it's
Yeah.
the difference between a senior who needs $1,000 and us having to do a program of 500 because we've opened it up to any income.
Yeah.
You are affecting the person who required more assistance. And that's my only point. I'm not,
Yeah.
like I said, I don't want to embarrass people. I
No,
don't,
no.
and I don't even know what the
I agree.
income would be. You know, obviously that's something we would talk to Brad about, you know, I mean, because, or what's.
Personally, I
reasonable?
would say at least 60,000. Because we know 60,000
Yeah,
is,
more than, I mean, look,
is the hours
I'm not
calculation.
saying cutting it off at 60. I mean,
Yeah.
even, you know, that's even tough. I mean, if your
Yeah.
taxes are 15,000 a year. on that,
but I'm just saying, we have
that's a
data
lot.
that supports 60.
I mean, whatever it is, I'm not gonna debate it here. All I'm just saying is, for me, I would like to see some sort
Nope.
of threshold that, look, if you're making 6 figures a year in retirement, you most certainly don't need $1,000 tax break
Yeah.
from the town.
And I'm saying not below 60, you understand? I'm just saying it can't go below 60. That you can't, because the Alice population, basically they've proven that people make between 45 and 60, there's nothing for them really. And it takes at least 60 to make it here, bare minimum, and probably a lot more. But that's where it comes from. I'm sorry, Julie, you had a question.
I think that we have another problem in town too. We have people that are owning homes and they're renting out rooms to
Mhm.
whomever. That's just something that went through my head right now because, there's no, law that says they can, I guess. Which, you know, which gives it more people, possibly more kids. I know in the house next to us, I don't know how many kids are.
Yeah,
living in
there are some things in zoning. We could probably talk about that offline.
That should be something
Yeah.
to work on, but I also, I think that we should think about the state program is 53,000 that you can't make more than. Would you like to live on $53,000 a year?
You
I
can't
don't
make it.
think so.
You can't make it in this state.
No, you can't, and then that's
Sorry.
why
It's
we
very
have
hard.
all of the complaining, and even, people with higher incomes, if it was a way to get it started, to put an income limit on it, that's one thing. I would almost guarantee you, because of the people that come to your town meetings and to vote, if it was up for a vote, it would pass.
Oh, no question.
People that would be there,
Yeah.
you know, because they would see something that's being discussed and to try
Yeah.
to get started.
And I think to all is, we feel that there's a need, no question about it. It just, how do you do it? Because at the end of the day, we're fiduciaries for the town. It's political or not, there's only so much we can actually do that won't break our budget or create such a tax. By the way, when those taxes go up, it's going to affect the middle class. You know, whatever we do to fill that hole, because, you know, we can't really cut to fill the hole. There's just nowhere to cut. So as we grow, we try to get that.
The other thing too is, you know, a $500,000 increase, right, comes out to about, I don't know, was it $18? What's the mill rate? No, the mill rate now is 20.
It's
28. This is called 28 to make it
Yeah.
easy, right?
27.
So it comes to $14 per thousand of assessment. So if your house is assessed for $4,000, we've basically just ate up most of your tax rebate. That's why we have to be thoughtful
Yeah.
in the way we do
It's
this,
true.
that we don't want to, you know, do this in a way that, okay, great, we're giving people $1,000, but your taxes are going up $800 a year. So it's really a $200 rebate. So that's why
True.
Brad Herring would be so important.
That's
He's much smarter than me. So, and that's why he would be very important. But I think, again,
Yeah.
I think we can all leave this meeting by saying we want to do something. It's just figuring out how to do it so it actually works and doesn't have, that's why, like, I don't want to just jump to something and say, let's do it to feel good. And then go, like,
Well,
that didn't work like we thought.
yeah,
So,
there's really not, I mean, at this point, it's going to take some thought and planning. There's nothing we can do tonight just to say, push it through. I know you're not looking for that.
No, we didn't, I'm not
Yeah.
assuming that. No, what I'm saying is that it's just something that we really need to.
But like your point, we've talked about it for really a little over a year. I mean, kind of, we've been talking about it. I think we realize we have to do something, or we should. I think we have to do something. So we'll move forward with it and keep, you know, the commission in the loop with whatever we do.
That's why Diane was so helpful, because at least she put
Yeah.
everything out here. She has it in front of you. She's done all the research work. And if you have any questions, she's the one to ask, because she's been all over it. So
Yeah,
I give her credit for that.
I was just gonna say that, you know, because I wasn't aware of a lot of this information, so it's great that they brought it to us and, you know. like Dan said, we'll go and move
It was
forward on
2020.
it.
We
Somehow,
actually have
some way.
probably 21,000 people in town now. We're supposed to have 23,600 by the census said, but there's numbers floating around. So,
I think one of the other things, and then we'll be done.
Okay.
When we looked at all the other towns around, we looked at the different ways that it was being administered, and we tried to come up with something as simple as possible. And our thought was, if it was just an application and nobody had to check the income numbers, I mean, they're gonna sign this saying, you know,
Yeah.
I'm appropriate. Then you don't have to hire somebody to administer the program. We we're trying to make it as simple as
Right.
possible.
Because otherwise.
And that's
you
why we came up with,
might need a full-time person to administer it if you start with needing the 1040s and all
Yeah,
kinds of.
it would
have
be.
to give assessment.
like what John does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, you're
I
still
don't
gonna
know.
have to check that they've resided in town for 10 years.
true.
I mean,
Well, you
that's,
would
you know,
have to
we'll-
have
That in there, and
Right.
give the license.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna have to do
would
that.
match the tax bill.
yeah.
It has to be the same name.
Again, I appreciate, you know, what you're saying in terms of the income limit. but you would really have to sell me on it. Because I just really feel that, you know, and again, you know, I can speak for my personal situation with the pension and knowing when I'm gonna get Social Security, it wouldn't be fair for me, because I'd be taking away from someone who needs it much more than I do. And if there's less people in the pool who have like a much greater need, it's easier to get them more money than if we split it out against, you know, maybe a 10% of the population that maybe doesn't have that same need. So, you know, that's something you guys would have to prove to me, because that's just where I am tonight. This is the first, you know, I've read your guys' report, but for me, it's some sort of income limit would be very important to me. And, you know, make it a reasonable income limit, because we live in Fairfield County. Obviously, we're not going to say you have to make less than 50,000, because like you said, 50,000 doesn't go very far in Fairfield County when you pay, you know, your property tax, you pay your car insurance, you pay your homeowner's insurance, everything is going up and up and up. But I also feel there does have to be a limit on it, because, you know, there are certain people who can't afford to stay here. And to me, that's not in the spirit of why we would do this. It's to keep people like you're talking about, who raise their kids in town, who've been involved in town, have been here, you know, for a good portion of their lives. You know, yeah, we want to see them stay. We want them to be comfortable in retirement, of course. You know, that would be the wish of any community, I think. So.
And it's more a reward for them because they
I was just thinking the
they
same
just-
thing.
They invested in Bethel.
Yeah.
And I think that they should be rewarded. You know, obviously, we're all in that same boat. These are the people we want to keep here. You know?
How about, if you thought about any other items, any other things, maybe a senior work program? We'll just put aside $1 million and put you all to work.
Well, you know, again, we talked about
Kidding,
that.
Jess.
A credit for senior volunteers.
Yeah.
A lot of cities and towns do that, and that works. And it makes people involved, and that's a good thing.
Very,
I mean,
Very.
we win, and they.
because now we
get to be
give money and reward that we.
I don't know. I think an 80-year-old who's worked their whole life isn't going to be interested in coming to work for the town. It's
No,
kinda-
no.
I don't know, most of them volunteered if they got a stipend or if they got extra
I
volunteer
always see them at the
points.
polls. They help out a lot, and I
Maybe-
get a very small.
No, but maybe giving volunteer, like, you know, where the students
Yeah.
have to have volunteer credits throughout the year. Maybe the seniors should have been a volunteer, but maybe that's not fair either. I don't know, but
Yeah, but the
Yeah.
concept is there.
I get the gist.
So
Well, thank you.
conversation that we
Yeah.
should just continue in the very near future and not let it just.
Thank you very much.
Well, we thank you. Thank you for all the work.
Thank
that
you
you
for all
did.
your hard work. It's
Thank
very
you for
helpful.
having us.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So we'll just, going forward, we'll just hear.
yeah,
from you at
we'll
some
stay in
point.
touch because I mean, listen, I'd like to move on something this year if we can. So we can start talking about it and then bring it up in one of our next meetings because we were, right now we're doing the ground part of the budget, you know, talking to the department heads, stuff like that. And then we'll start coming for us next month.
And Brad will probably have the numbers on what the
Yeah.
senior tax relief is right
It's
now.
not the time of year I miss.
I know.
They put it that way.
What'd you say, Pat? Sorry.
She doesn't miss this
It's not
time of
the
year.
Time of year I
Oh,
miss
yeah.
between the finance committee and the
Oh.
treasurer. Keeps you
Painful.
busy.
Well, thank you. And
Thanks,
Scott,
guys.
thank you for your service because you're one of those, actually, everybody here has been very, very involved in this town.
Another point is most
Appreciate
of the seniors do try to volunteer.
Yeah.
It's very hard to get the young people involved anymore. They want to sit
True.
in their pajamas and in O'Neill's and.
I do social media.
Don't
True.
put that in it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank
You guys want to stay on for the meeting or you're gonna head on out?
Should this be something that would be brought up at the Commission on Aging at the Board of Finance meeting when you have your joint meeting? Which will be coming up next?
I don't know that we'll have time for presentations during that, but we
Okay.
might. I think what I'll do is, you know, talk to Brad, come back to this commission, see where our head's at, and then figure out how we communicate to the Board of Finance.
Well, I mean, you guys could always reach out to Chairman Ellis and ask if he could give a presentation at one of his
That's
meetings.
to the Board of
That,
Finance.
that wouldn't be a bad idea, you know, just,
Yeah.
you could even send an email to Mary addressed to Chairman Ellis, and then she could forward it to him with your request to get on their agenda.
Yeah, probably should do that actually.
That would probably be
That's
a
a great
good way to get,
That's a
you
good
know,
idea.
because you would get all
Yeah.
their members there too, to listen to it.
And they see the starting point. They see where this started and what you're asking for. And then as we all work together, they'll know, you know, what we're trying to achieve.
Ultimately, it's
Yeah.
their decision.
Ultimately, it would be the Board of Finance.
Ultimately, it's their
at the
decision.
End of the day.
Ultimately.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, all right.
Take care, guys.
Okay, we actually have a,
I don't have it.
we have
Oh,
the
they are?
recommendations. Nobody. So until you guys vote on their ass, so talk about it.
Thomas Cordillo from Taylor out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, all the time.
Okay. So next up, we have consideration of recommendation for the fire commission regarding changing tax abatement provisions for firefighters.
That was one of the questions that I was going to ask you, because I think that started out as a volunteer program. Rick could probably address that. That started out, as how many hours they served.
Yeah.
And they got, they got some.
It's still like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so we have before us the tax abatement information. I don't know if you guys have any chance to look at this. My, given the time of the night and where we are in the budget process, I would be in favor of holding on to this and tabling it, bringing it back to give the members a chance to look through it and think about it, so that we can kind of come back with an educated guess of what we should do. What do you think about that?
I'm fine with tabling it for tonight.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we table this item for consideration at the next meeting. Second, all in favor of tabling, say aye.
Aye.
And we'll consider that table. Okay, next up, consideration of appointments of boards and commissions.
You did a good job.
She did an excellent job. Okay, so we have 3 appointments ahead of us here tonight. First off, the Emergency Medical Services Commission. We have a new chief for the Bethel Fire Department who's entitled to that commission based on being the chief. So I would accept a motion to appoint Chief William McAllister to the Emergency Medical Services Commission, who will be entitled to commission membership so long as he is chief of the Bethel Volunteer Fire Department. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next up, we have, we might want some discussion about this. For the Public Site and Building Commission, we have Thomas Cardillo over on Taylor Avenue to fill the vacancy of John Perna. I put out, numerous times for folks to make it, recommendations for the Public Site and Building Commission. We're to the point where it's very difficult to maintain a quorum. The folks who have been there, their terms have expired, and we can keep them on a little bit to do business. But, at some point, if they weren't on, we wouldn't have a quorum to actually meet and do anything. We have a couple of projects going. Thomas Cardillo is very interested. I think he replied to one of my emails online, or my updates online, and showed interest. And the thing that's interesting too about him, he has a lot of experience doing, I guess, requests for proposals and some things like
He's
that.
a plaster. He does plaster work. He's been working over at St. Ignatius over in Richfield for the past couple of years. He's built a couple apartments
Mhm.
here in town. I've known Tom for
Okay,
quite a while. He's a nice guy. He definitely, he's intelligent. He's he has some knowledge in building. He's been in the trades a long time.
okay. Any thoughts?
Whose seat was John's? Who had recommended John to the?
Well, actually, it was
Who?
John Perna.
John Perna was on there.
Yeah.
And he left. He submitted the
He
resignation,
just left.
Right, but
and he has a remaining term up to January 4th of 27. So he wasn't recommended by anybody. He got a hold of us, although he knows Dave Resendez, who's on the commission right now.
no, I'm talking about who had put John Perna on the building site committee. Was it?
Well, it was years ago, it was
I don't know. That'd be
Matt administration.
I have the data on when he went on the first time. I just don't have it available right now.
And how many open seats do we have?
I didn't bring it with me. Mary, do you have access? You probably don't. Do you? On the Public Site and Building Commission, I know we have at least two more. Dave Olson is going to leave. His term expired. He's hanging on. Nancy Ryan is still open.
Oh, Nancy stepped up.
Yeah, she's leaving too. So we've appointed him and we appointed somebody else. So I think we have one more. I think Gerald Roche is actually interested again.
Again,
So I think I think there's some interest there, but
Do you want me to pull it up, Dan?
No, it's not, listen,
That's okay.
I know Tom and I feel very comfortable with him.
Okay.
He's very intelligent, very thoughtful individual. He's a good person.
Yeah.
for Sure.
in my discussions with him, he seems great.
That is very, very
Yeah.
decent.
With that, I would accept a motion to appoint Thomas Cardillo to the Public Site and Building Committee to fill the vacancy created by John Perna for a term ending January 4th, 2027. And that's actually accept the motion. So it's moved. Would you like to second?
Aye.
Okay, with that, I'll try minds. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And motion carries. Next up, we have Economic Development Commission. Michael Boyle resigned. He has this was actually, hold on a minute. I think he has a term remainder on there. I just didn't put it down. I'll probably have to look that up, what the remainder of his term is. He did resign. And I was given two candidates. I was given Noel Gill from the Democrat Party. He had served on the commission previously. And Edward Tomasco Jr. From the Republicans, who is actually our current chair of the Insurance Pension Committee.
He's a long time business owner in town. He
Yeah.
owns Financial Strategies, which is right across the street.
Right.
did you talk to Ed?
I talked to Ed today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have talked to Ed.
He's
He's
interested.
totally into it.
100%.
When this opened up, actually kind of sidelined a couple of the people who were interested because I think we really needed somebody with some financial background. And Noel is I guess a financial advisor. But truth be told, I think, given the experience level of Ed Tomasco and the types of projects and being on the insurance pension, I think he's kind of a better fit. So that's kind of why I would recommend him to the board.
Just a question,
Sure.
what, do we know the overall makeup of the boards, R's and U's and D's?
Yeah, what this would actually do, would even out the board. We would end up with, I think, 3 R's, 3 D's, and then 2 U's. So it'd actually be even Steven. Pretty sure. Actually, Mary, would you go ahead and pull up the appointed board sheet? Can you do that? And I guess we'd have to, I can read it off, but if you do it from Google
Well,
Drive,
I mean,
Yeah.
Regardless.
no, I should have had that with me. I had it last time we did appointments. I had it with me. So if you want to pull up sheets, there's no appointed. Here you go. Perfect.
Now, can we make a big?
Yeah, just go down to economic,
I'm sorry.
keep rolling down, economic development. Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Okay, yep. This would be 3 R's, 2 D's, and a U. 7, so it evens out that way. Yeah, not that it mattered to me. We could have gone either way with this one. It would have been okay, but yeah, it's not political. I really did look at this. I think given the two folks, it's pretty solid candidate.
I've known Ed for a long time. He's very thoughtful.
Okay. All right, so with that, I would accept a motion to appoint Edward Tabasco Jr. to the Economic Development Commission to fill the vacancy created by Michael Boyle. And do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Finally, we have a person for the Board of Fire Commission. Peter Holberg. It's actually Holmberg. I spelled it incorrectly, right?
Correct.
H-O-M. We'll fix that in a minute. Well-known guy, Tom. well drilling business. Has been a past chief. I guess, multiple times. And, which is amazing at his young age of 50 something. So, I will say this, there's been, some real thought about, well, he's not a current firefighter, he's not a current member. And I think we've talked a lot about not having current members on the Board of Fire. So that's, and this was a Republican seat because it was a vacancy created by Anthony Rubino. And so this is who they put forward. I think he's an excellent candidate. Talked to him, he seems very interested. He was very matter of fact when I told him what the job was, and, I told him where the commission is going, and he liked it.
Known Pete a long time.
Yeah. I'm sure you have to,
Very good guy.
yeah.
Gentleman.
Okay, so with that, I would accept a motion to appoint Peter Holmberg to the Board of Fire Commission to fill a vacancy created by Anthony Rubino for a term ending December 2nd, 2027.
So moved.
Second.
And all in favor? Say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 100%. Thank you. All right. Moving right along. I move that we accept the tax refund, or excuse me, approve the tax refunds in the amount of $935.29 to go pay my taxes. So second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We can actually remove the next. I didn't get to it, but it's not even being tabled because I already had a resolution that allowed me to do the grant. that We already approved, so we'll just strike through that. Have to make a motion to strike that. It's not being tabled. It's, oh, you know what it is? It's, is it deferred indefinitely? What's the word? There's a word for it. Let's just go to plain language here. I make a motion that we remove the consideration to accept the grant from Deep, permanently from the agenda. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. That way we're legal like. Okay, next up, we have the consideration of the approval recommendations from the procurement committee for the bid 2025-004. So all right. So here's the deal. Now, did you happen to talk to anybody since about this bid? Because when I saw this the other day, I discovered I was not at the procurement committee that day. And it is not the lowest bid. They accepted. And I don't have the information that when the Board of Ed and everybody, or the Public Site Building Committee looked at this, I think to move forward, to know.
Other than just to have their minutes.
Yeah.
And the basis on which they preferred this dinner.
Well, this is for the commissioning agent, or commissioning services, right?
And
So I think we have some fun. I'd prefer to table this until we can get all the bid information. So we're clear now. It's not the end of the world, but I will throw this out there. The reason these numbers are low, like, we're talking on 20,000. Anything over 10,000 requires a bid from the state for the contract. So that's why we went out to bid for these. And if we were not to get reimbursed, we lose about $6,000. But the $6,000, I'd still rather just have the information before we approve it. Any thoughts from the?
I mean, 3 of them are kind of.
Let's see, it's what, 2 weeks to the next meeting?
Yeah, we have chance.
Brad's not on the call, right?
No,
Okay.
but I have a feeling that the procurement, in the process, the procurement committee and the public site and building both do the approval. And if you look at the charter, it doesn't say one is done before the other or one received before the other. I think in this case, the public site building committee sent it to the procurement committee and didn't send the information, and the procurement committee just went with it.
Well, I think it
Yeah.
just makes sense to find out why.
Yeah.
You're not going with the low bid. We're not saying it's not the
Yeah.
correct move. It's just, I think that people have a right to know why we're not going with
Okay.
the low bid.
So I move that we table the consideration of the recommendation from the procurement committee for the bid.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. That vote is carried. I'm sorry, that item is carried. Okay, finally, last, I'd like to, we have consideration of possible property acquisitions, leases, and or agreements in regard to Wells Fargo and Stony Hill Preserve. Given the nature that those, are talking about lease agreements under FOI, that we can, have that in executive session. So with that, I would make a motion, that we invite Melanie, our town attorney, Mary Churchill, our, office manager, into an executive session, and then we go to executive session to discuss these items.
Mary, before I second it, do you want to be invited? I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're in executive session, time now is 8:18. Stop recording, please. Okay, we are coming back to order after executive session. Time now is 8:50 PM. All business is concluded. Is there anything else to bring before the board of selectmen?
And a quick question, are you aware, or does the Board of Ed have a policy regarding ice and possibly coming, taking kids up to the schools or anything like that for this,
Oh, if I get a nice storm.
no, for the immigration.
Oh, I'm, instead of winter, I'm the ice.
Yeah,
I am not aware of any policy. I mean, that would be with the board of ed, but I would,
Hopefully it won't come to that.
get back in.
okay, well, I mean, well, I was just wondering if you knew anything, or I can call Dr. Carver.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any, or have heard of anything.
I'm not aware of a policy like that.
Yeah.
We're on the chair.
Yeah.
So I would say there's not a policy about these things. He's
Yeah.
not aware. I
Yeah,
would say
I'm
there's
not
probably
aware
not
of one.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
We're generally having any third party come and take kids out of school, like that would be pretty scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, the juvenile laws in Connecticut.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's,
Okay.
I mean, that's, you gotta have a judge's order to even send them to.
Yeah.
Juvenile detention, right? It's pretty sure.
Just, it could be a whole bunch of different scenarios, that the parents were taken away or the
Yeah.
left there, or. Okay,
With that said, I would accept the motion. to adjourn.
To motion to adjourn.
Second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. We stand adjourned at 8:51. Thank you.
Yeah, we have these.
no, it wasn't nice.